Morning. My clock just stopped chiming, and show information from you guys, which is fine because I have the phone number here. This is Ralph Wakeman from Shenandoah SewandVac in Woodstock, Virginia, and I noticed once again I've got the camera backwards here today, but I'm not going to worry with that. I do have my phone number up there, so you can give me a call. So anything I show you, just look at it backwards. Use a mirror, whatever. So good morning. Wow, this is my third week of doing this, and so far I've gotten a total of one customer in the store and a total of no phone calls. So I am doing great. I can only go up from here. And so if anybody has any questions for me here at Shenandoah SewandVac, I work on sewing machines, lamps, vacuum cleaners, KitchenAid mixers, and in the past I have worked on everything from toasters to blenders to all kinds of crazy things. So yeah, the worst thing I can tell you is I have no idea what you're talking about. But I do not work on computers or nuclear power plants, or I can't fix broken relationships or cats. Okay, but I can fix most of the time sewing machines, vacuum cleaners, lamps, and miscellaneous objects. So we're live again for the third time, and it's being recorded here on both Facebook, which I think is my family Facebook. So hi family and friends, and then on YouTube, Shenandoah SewandVac. In other words, Shenandoah is one word, SewandVac is another, and that's how you can find me on YouTube. I am going to hopefully, in the next week or so, get a letter out to all of the people that had signed up for my newsletter 5 years ago. I had over 600 people. Most of those addresses probably are not right. I'll get a nice letter from MailChimp, and it will tell me that you have a lot of people that are not still there. So sometimes I wonder if I am still here. So good morning once again. Here, I am trying to do multiple things at the same time. I have learned that there's a possibility of me being able to put short videos on here so that you can see what I want you to see. There's also the ability to put pictures on here so you can see things that I want you to see. But right now, I'm still just learning and doing things slowly and probably doing it not as correct as I could. Alrighty? And leave comments below on Facebook or on YouTube if you're watching, just to let me know that somebody's out there. Even if you don't want to call me, you can do that. I don't think anything will show up on my screen here. I'll see that later when I'm done. I did have a meal with a lady who this week, I think it is, or maybe next week, is going to be 101. Fabulous lady, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that later when I get to my my saying of the day. Today I would like to talk a little bit about vacuum cleaners, sewing machines, lamps, cleaning, and something free. But to start off with, we're going to talk about vacuum cleaners. And I get a lot of people come in and say, I don't want to buy a bagged vacuum cleaner. And I say, that's fine. You can find them many places. I have a couple of used ones here, but I don't really recommend them because they're a lot of trouble to take care of. Now, I have over here a Eureka Mighty Mite, a little canister vacuum cleaner, very nice little thing. They last for years and years. I've been selling for about 20 now. Same vacuum cleaner, same style of vacuum cleaner, not the same vacuum because that means I didn't sell very many. I still have the same one. And the nice thing about that is you take a bag out of the vacuum cleaner, you put a new bag in the vacuum cleaner, close it up, and you're at it again. Very easy to take care of. Bagless vacuum cleaners, on the other hand, especially if you're a business, I really don't suggest you purchase a bagless vacuum cleaner for your business because you're paying someone to clean it. Because it's not just dump the dirt out on the floor or outside or in a trash can or wherever you do it, but you also have extra filters to clean. Usually there's about 3 or 4. One is an exhaust filter that protects you from the dirt, but if you don't clean it, the motor overheats and it's not a good thing. The second one is underneath the tank that you have. There's usually a filter or a set of filters that you need to take out and clean. Hopefully you can clean them. Some filters are not made to be cleaned, they're made to be replaced. That's where they make their money. Ooh, I don't have to buy bags. Well, yes, then you have to buy filters, and I hope you don't have to do that. But I do make filters for some of these vacuum cleaners because the filters are either expensive or they quit making them after a period of time and want you to go buy a new vacuum. And so I make filters out of material that is washable and reusable. And so it's very inexpensive, and you can use it over and over again. Once again, the reason you bought the bagless vacuum is so you don't have to buy bags. And this will help you save on the filters that you need to purchase. Then inside of the tank, on some of these vacuum cleaners, a little tank that has the dirt inside that you dump out, there is an extra filter, and that's usually washable. But you have to make sure it's completely dry before you put it back in. Now, I suggest you wash it every time you use the vacuum cleaner with plain water, no soap, no nothing, because the soap can cause the foam and the other pieces of the filter to break down with time, and that's not a pretty picture. Then when you're done with washing it, just in the sink, don't have any food in there. It probably doesn't work so good with food, but when you're done with washing it, then you take it and put it in the dash of your car where the sun is shining. Okay, some people say where the sun don't shine, but there you want it where the sun does shine, and it helps dry it out very quickly. Because if you don't, the dirt that you vacuum up will get trapped in that filter and turn to like cement as it's wet. And they're almost impossible to clean, and then you got to buy a new one, and it's not a pretty picture there either because it affects your wallet or purse or your card or your checkbook, if you know what a checkbook is. Alrighty, so the difference between a bagged vacuum cleaner and a bagless vacuum cleaner is a bagged vacuum is much easier to take care of. You change the bag, usually you're done. Now there are other filters on them that need to be checked every once in a while, but not very often. On the bagless vacuum cleaner, you need to keep up with all the filters because if they get dirty, you don't have the suction and then dirt starts flying through the vacuum cleaner. And some people will notice after they've had their vacuum cleaner for a while, even bagged vacuum cleaners, that they start making a grinding noise when you turn them on and you turn them off. That is bad bearings. I know I've lost my bearings many a times, but on your vacuum cleaner, when they lose their bearings, it starts making some noise. And after it loses that noise, after the noise gets worse and worse where you can't stand it anymore, probably time to get another vacuum. Unless it's an old Electrolux or Filter Queen, some of these vacuum cleaners, you can actually replace the bearings in the older vacuum cleaners. They made them to be fixed. Yeah. But the new ones, they're made to be either replace the motor, and it's sad to say the motors sometimes cost as much as the vacuums, or you just replace the whole vacuum cleaner. All right, now, the next thing I want to talk about today on week number 2, all right, is oil. Now, I don't have it in front of me, but I have oil here called Lily White sewing machine oil. It's very good oil. Singer uses the same oil in their little bottles that they sell. It is made for sewing machines. It's a very fine oil. It does a really good job. It's not a vegetable oil. Don't use vegetable oil. It gets sticky. And also you can use gun oil in your sewing machine to lubricate it. But please, when you go to oil your sewing machine, or any device actually, make sure you only oil the metal pieces. Do not oil the plastic, because in our world today, since 1964 actually for Singer, they started putting nylon gears in their sewing machines. And they did that for multiple reasons, they say, but the big one was called planned obsolescence. Those gears are going to get soft and break with time. Now, originally, when you bought a machine, it said sometimes they didn't tell people, but those gears, those nylon gears, are either white or black, should not have oil or grease added to them because it will permeate the plastic or the nylon and cause it to get soft and swell up, and then it will break. Usually these machines last 25 to 30 years, something like that, and then they start having problems. Singer Touch and Sew was started in 1964, and that machine was the first one to start having nylon gears. There is one series, I think it's called the 603, that some of them still had the metal gears in it. When people come in with their Singer Touch and Sew, I usually roll my eyes and make all kinds of noises, and then open up and find out it had metal gears, and I apologize. I have to, because I was wrong. I know it's hard for some people to say that, but I can quickly tell you when I'm wrong. I do that a lot. I need to get some water here in a minute. Oh, wait a minute. I've got a phone call on my personal phone. Let's see who this is. Hello there. You are live on the air. This is Ralph Wakeman. Hello? Are you a human or a robot? I guess they were a robot, or they didn't want to talk to me. I get a lot of those calls, and they're usually robots. And now they're getting smarter. They'll answer questions, and I don't know which is proper to ask. I used to ask, what color are your eyes? And my family kind of thought that might be a little bit too personal. So maybe I should ask, where were you born? Okay. Not where you live. That might be a little personal too. Where were you born, or where are you calling from? Now, when I say where are you calling from, I do get some answers from the robots even. I'm in an office in Arizona. And then I have to ask another question, and then they hang up. What'd you have for lunch or breakfast, if you had that? All right, now I was going to get up and show you the oils, but I will not. I'm going to talk to you about three things. One is soy machine oil or gun oil. It is nice and fine. It will do a great job in soy machines. And then there is WD-40. I had a doctor friend of mine said, you can spray that on your joints. It will help. It's a permeating oil. Well, it does permeate. It does loosen. But the bad thing is it evaporates. And so when you're working on the soy machine and you want to get it loose, I've had many people come in and say, I got the soy machine loosened up for my wife. I just sprayed her down with WD-40 and it was working great for about 15 minutes. Well, the reason it was is because it was actually still lubricating a little bit. But then after 15 minutes, they'd say, it's locked up tighter than it was before. Well, that's because you cleaned away all of the dirt and stuff and loosened up the oils, but then the oils hardened again, and this time they have nothing to hold them back. They stop completely, and it's terrible. I've got a machine here that I'm wrestling with still from last week that is tight, and I tried to give it a drink, but I'm not an alcoholic. The only alcohol I have is rubbing alcohol, and you're not supposed to drink that. Anyway, I've tried WD-40. I've got to go to the liquid wrench to help loosen things up. But when you use WD-40 to loosen up a device, doesn't have to be a soy machine, when you get it loose, start putting oil in there. And I would say the soy machine oil or the gun oil in there, so it replaces the WD-40 when it evaporates. There is a third oil that I can smell when somebody comes in. Not them, the oil. Okay. Let's not get too personal here. Okay, the third oil is 3-in-1 oil. Okay, now 3-in-1 oil does three things. It loosens. That sounds pretty good. It lubricates. That sounds pretty good. And it protects. That is not so good, because when you use 3-in-1 oil, as it ages, it protects by coating everything with a brown sludge. And so it makes a smell. You can smell it. And it starts seizing up on the machine. Makes it turn very hard, because it's like using vegetable oil. It's not made for soy machines. Even though on the can, it shows a little picture of a soy machine. And I don't want to say liar, liar, pants on fire, because there's enough fires in this world right now. But it isn't really true. Don't use 3-in-1 oil. When I was a kid, I used to use it on my bicycle. I just kept pumping it into the little oil spout that was down at the crank when I was a kid on my bike to make it turn freer. But every once in a while, I'd have to add more because the oil would sludge up on me. All right, so there's my soy machine's hints for the day. Use soy machine or gun oil on your machine. Do not use 3-in-1 oil or WD-40 as oil. All right, and please don't oil plastic or nylon parts. Some parts in soy machines you'll look at a sewing machine and it looks all metal. And I really praise people when they bring one of those in. Well, unfortunately, in the 60s, even though everything else was metal, there is a gear that runs the zigzag mechanism in the sewing machine that was nylon, those hoodwinkers. Anyway, what will happen with that gear, it will split and then start sliding on the little shaft it was glued to or was mounted on. And so the zigzag doesn't work. I have a machine, I think I still have the machine here, that I have for $50. It will sew through anything, but the zigzag doesn't work. And I don't want to take the time to take out the gear and put it in a new one because it's going to be plastic too. And then, 10, 20 years from now, it won't work anymore. And who can guarantee something that won't last 10 to 20 years? Anyway, I just don't like working on things that are going to break again. And I like to make sure that what I sell are quality. And if they're not, I will tell you that they're not quality. I've had some vacuum cleaners here that the prices are good, or at least I think they're good because I'm selling them. But the prices are good, but they're not the quality of some of my more expensive vacuum cleaners. Okay, next, last week I talked about cleaning your carpet with water and a clean towel. Well, today I'm going to talk about cleaning up blood and organic dirt. I'm not going to mention all the things that can be organic, but pets put out organic materials. And sometimes people do too, especially blood and things like that, into your carpet. And a lot of times, carpet cleaners will not take the spot or the stain out. But what they do is they permanently fuse the stain into the carpet. And that's when you have to call some of my friends in the carpet cleaning business to come and dye or stain your carpet or bleach it, okay, to take that color that's not supposed to be in there out. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get the camera and I'm going to turn it around here so you can see the floor. I even vacuumed. It doesn't look like it, but I vacuumed in here. And I'm going to show you the product that I have. And I call it Miracle in a Can. It's actually Lindhaus's Power Spray. But it is a enzyme, okay? And it's got little things in there to eat up the organic things. I'm going to chump it up and eat up the organic stain. Now, last week I told you, do not take your spot remover and go in your carpet. Well, today I'm going to show you that I'm going to spray something into the carpet, but it's alcohol-based. Not drinking. Okay. Anyway, alcohol-based. And what it will do is it will chomp up the dirt, the enzyme, the urine or the feces or the blood, and take it out of the carpet. It'll eat it up and it's gone. And it dries very quickly. So it will not ruin your subfloor or your carpet glue on the back of your carpet. All right, so let's go. I'm going to come around there, grab the camera, and we're going to look at the floor. Isn't that exciting? By the way, my number's still up there. You can call me or write a note in the remarks and say you were watching me live, or tell me when you watched me, because I'm at 10 o'clock and it's about 20 after now, and I want to find out if people are actually watching me now. I'm thinking on the 5th, if there's a 5th, Wednesday, I might do an evening show like on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night or something. I'm usually busy on Wednesday nights. Okay, so I'm going to go around here and I'm going to show you some amazing things. All right. Are you there? You're there. Okay. Now, we're going to take this and have it shine on the carpet here. Oh, yeah, you can see. Okay, so I'm going to take something that you should never do at your house, but I'm going to do it because that's me. I've got this. Rexall, the name trusted for drugs. Used to have a penny. You could buy twice as much. Rexall drugs. They sponsored Jack Benny and some other places on the radio years ago. Anyway, I've got some iodine. That's organic, by the way. And I'm going to put some iodine on my carpet. Now, don't do this at home. All right, friends? But right here. Whoops, I'm going to get on my knees. Help me, I've fallen, I can't get up. Okay, right here. I'm going to put some right here. And we're going to put that on the carpet. Oh my goodness, I'm bleeding. So that will happen to people. And so what they try to do, they go, oh no, we got blood on the floor. So they go and they try to clean it up. And look what's happening. I'm spreading it everywhere. What a mess. And I got this shocked look on my face. Oh, I can't believe it. Look, it's in my rag. It's in the carpet. What am I going to do? So I've got this. This is called Pure Power. All right. This stuff is fabulous. I've used it for years now, and I can say it works on organic stains. It does not work on inorganic stains. By the way, I don't eat any inorganic food. All right, there are people that say this food is organic. I said, well, I hope so, because I don't eat inorganic food. All right, pop it open here. And look how easy the lid is to get off of this thing. It's just so easy. Come on. Hey! That's an old lid. Oh, I'm doing so good. Okay, so I've shaked this up. Live TV. You just never know what's going to happen. I used to love watching David Letterman. He had a show on when I was living at the beach in Ocean City, New Jersey. And he had fireworks going off one time, and the studio caught on fire while he was doing that. And he just stood there and just tried to crack jokes while the place was burning, but they actually got it out. So, all right, so here we are. We got that stain there. I'm going to take this product, and I'm going to spray it. Hopefully, it's going to spray. There, it's going. Not as good as I'd like for it to, but you'll see it's foaming up a little bit. All righty. And I'm spraying it in there. This is kind of slow. Normally, it sprays a lot faster. This is a can I've had in the back. And as it's going in, come on, buddy. Are you clogged? Is that what's going on? No, you're just slow. As it's going in, you might notice the colors are getting lighter of all that gunk and grime that I had in there, the iodine. And we are going to let it set. I'm not going to rub it, because then you'll think the rubbing's doing the job. But I'm going to let that set for a while. And it will dry up pretty quick, because like I say, it's alcohol-based. Not drinking alcohol, but alcohol-based. And that should, see? Oh, it's already gone. Look at that. I'm using my finger. I'm not using a cloth. I'm not showing you all that. Wonderful. Now, as it dries, it will get all the stuff that comes to the surface, too. All the iodine in the bottom will come to the top, and that stuff will eat it, too. Matter of fact, I'm going to spray a little bit more, just to make sure I get it good. And by the way, when you're going to do something live on TV, it helps if you practice ahead of time, and I didn't, because I've done it so many times at the store in the past. All right, I'm going to get up here, and that spot is almost completely gone, and I'll leave it go there. Whoo, hoo, hoo. So, this is called Pure Power, and it's great stuff. I've been selling it for years, and it has done good on, it says it will do coffee, it will do paint. I don't know how I can do paint, but it says it does. Wine. If it could do that when I had kids, that would have been great, because we had lots of wine going on there. Kool-Aid and ink and grease. So it does a lot of things. So, alrighty. Now let's go back to my desk over here. We'll let that sit there. I might talk about it again, but I might forget. I can't believe that lid broke. All right. Back to my chair over here. I'm back. All right. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was light bulbs. Last week, I talked about three-way light bulbs versus one-way light bulbs. And the way they work is you got a low element, a medium element, and then you got both elements, and they make bright. It's not a separate element for the bright. It's two elements put together to make the bright. Well, the nice thing about LED light bulbs, and I remember we had a president who I think I even voted for that got rid of incandescent light bulbs, because why have them? They waste electricity and they're terrible and that kind of thing. Well, It really hurt my daughter's little easy bake oven because they used light bulbs to heat it up. 100-watt light bulbs to heat it up. So the way the businesses got around that, because he outlawed 100-watt light bulbs, they started coming out with 90-watt light bulbs. Yeah, that's how you get around. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It's always like that with the government. It seemed like a good idea. We'll make a law about this, and then the next thing you know, there's a way to get around it. So they made 90-watt light bulbs. Now I think you can make 100-watt light bulbs again, but the problem is all the factories in America, I think, have closed up and left. The Sylvania plant in Winchester closed down, all because it seemed like a good idea at the time. All right, so an LED light bulb. I love LED light bulbs. I don't think they're required by government, but I think they're a great idea. The fluorescent tubes, those little weird corkscrew type things, were terrible. A couple of reasons. They got very hot. The elements inside got very hot. And they had mercury in them. So they got rid of light bulbs and then brought in the fluorescents, thinking that was going to solve the world's problems. It didn't. But it did cut the electric cost, when they worked, by a quarter. So they only used a quarter of the electricity a regular light bulb used. Well, interestingly enough, the LED light bulb uses 1/100th or something like that of a regular light bulb. A 100-watt equivalent light bulb is like 9 watts of electricity. You remember the little night light bulbs? At least when I was a kid, we had them. Night lights that had the little bulbs. They looked like sewing machine light bulbs, and you'd screw them in. They were 4 watts of electricity to light up a little room. I had one that was a night light, and then it had a little bird, a rubber bird, in a nest. I think it was a bluebird, that sat on top of the light bulb. It got warm, but it didn't melt the plastic or rubber. And it was my night light when I was a kid. Those kind of lights, they're also in the bases of a lot of the old-fashioned floor lamps. You ever had a big pole lamp, and then the bottom it had a little thing with a step switch, and little lights came one down there? That was a 4-watt light bulb inside there doing that. Well, for 9 watts, you can get the equivalent of 60 to 100 watts of light from it. What a deal. So the electric bill will go down in your house if you switch all of your lights over to an LED. Now, I must tell you, I haven't heard the story of LED light bulbs, but regular light bulbs, there was a meeting back in the 1920s or 30s or whenever it was, that all the light bulb manufacturers got together. And you can look it up online. It's out there. And I believe it's true that they determined that they need to make light bulbs only last for so many light hours. And that's why when you look at your light bulbs, they have written on them how many light hours they'll work, or they're supposed to work. They could make them last forever, but they don't. It's like sewing machines and anything else. They make them so that they break after so many hours. I think LEDs are the same way. But at the store here, I have a lamp over my desk, my counter back here, that is a metal lamp that it's got an arm on it so you can move it up and down. And I have it over my desk that I used to put a 60-watt light bulb in, incandescent. And it would get so hot, I'd burn myself when I touched it. Also, because the heat collected in that metal lamp, it burned the light socket out every year. I had to take it apart and rebuild it. A lot of people just throw them away. But I think I know what I'm doing, sort of. And so I would change out the socket every year. Well, when the LEDs came out, and I realized that, one, they are cheaper to operate, not cheaper to buy, but cheaper to operate than an incandescent, and they don't get as hot. I bought one for my store, and I put a date on it, and it lasted for about 4 or 5 years before the bulb went bad. But the socket is still as in good a shape as it was before. It is not burned out. It doesn't get hot enough. So LED bulbs are not as hot. Some people don't like the color of the light, but now you can buy them that have 2 different types of light: the cool white or the a daylight. And I like the daylight. I've got a daylight garage type light shining at me right now to give me light so you can see my face, which probably is not a real advantage to you, but it is to me because I can see me on the screen here. So I use fluorescent lights on almost everything. Matter of fact, They even make them now for the tubes in the ceiling. And you can use LED light tubes in your ceiling, which uses about a quarter or maybe less of the electricity that a regular fluorescent tube uses. And you don't have to worry about buying a ballast and those kind of things for your lights anymore, because they don't need them. They use well, the lights I have here at the store use 12 volts of electricity through a transformer. I've got lights in my window out front that I just turned back on again after being off for about 5 years or so, and most of the little lights are working. There are a few of those little tiny squares that are not, but overall they're working. They're great for lighting up the store and helping people know that I'm actually here when I'm supposed to be here. All right, so I've talked about lights. I've talked about the heat and the call. Oh, wait a minute. I got another phone call. This one's from Stanton, Virginia. Hold on. Hello, you are live on the air here at Shenandoah SewandVac. How can I help you? Hello? Are you a human or a robot? Come on, talk to me. They went away. I'm getting a little paranoid there. All right, now, I've talked about light bulbs. I think I've talked about LEDs and incandescents as much as I can here. So let's go on to my free item of the day. And I'll probably put it in the show notes. I love saying that. I'm just going to put it in the comments below. But the thing I want to talk about today is called archive.org. ARCHIVE.org. Okay, archive.org. Now, archive.org is a website in which you can go and look up old websites that are gone. Very interesting, because you can see some people say something, a political comment or a personal comment, and then they feel guilty about it later and they take it down. Well, on archive.org, there's a thing called the Wayback Machine. I don't know if it's after the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, the Wayback Machine. It could be. But you can go there and look at old websites. I look at my old one every once in a while to see what I have done in the past and what I need to change, that kind of stuff. But also on there is a place where you can look up things that are out of print or out of date. TV shows, radio programs, music, and books. I had a customer this past week that called me, and they had a 401A Singer. My favorite machine. I have one over here that I had out when I was talking to her. I did a live video chat with her. And anyway, she needed a manual. And I said, ma'am, you don't have to spend money on a manual. You can find them. So I went on the Internet Archive, and there it was, 401A. Even with the picture of the mouse and the clown. I must tell you a little bit about the 401A. My grandmother had one of those. When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time at my grandmom's. And my granddaddy had a rocket chair that looked out to the bird feeder outside, and he had a radio sitting beside his chair. And he'd listen to Paul Harvey every day at noon. Okay, you didn't interrupt Granddad while he was listening to Paul Harvey, or you would have probably been in trouble. And then my grandmother, behind him, or beside him, would be sitting at her sewing machine, her 401A sewing machine. Now, when you look at a picture of a 401A, you're going to see lots of knobs and dials and things. As a little child, I thought that was fascinating. Granddad would sit there and tune in his radio, his AM, FM radio, to, I don't know what station, WSIG or WSVA. I think it was WSVA out of Harrisonburg. And he'd listen to Paul Harvey. And I thought, that's cool. Maybe Grandmom's doing the same thing when she's sitting at that sewing machine. So one day I decided to turn some of the dials, a big dial and the little dial that had numbers on it and things, and nothing came out. I couldn't even get the light to come on. But I did get a reaction. I did. I got my spanking from Grandma. And I know it's probably ruined me for my whole life, but I've overcome much of it with much therapy and probably other spankings from my dad. But anyway, you're not to play with the dials. Do not play with the dials. It is the best sewing machine Singer ever made in America. It is the last one of the Singers, the deluxe sewing machines that they made up till 1964. In 1964, the 400 series machines were over. The 500 series, which were called the Rocketeers from the 50s, they were done. And the Singer Touch and Sew, I mean, not the Singer Touch and Sew, the Singer Featherweight, the 221, the little machine that folds up into a box, that one ended in 1964. It was a sad day in sewing machine history. And so then they came out with the Singer Touch and Sew. The beginnings of the machines, they still had some metal gears they used, but then they went to the plastic nylon gears. And from then on, Singer's gone bankrupt several times and is now owned by the same companies that, well, at least the last I checked, were owned. I got to be careful, I'm on the internet now. Were owned by companies that owned Pfaff or Pfaff and Viking and White. All these machines are owned by the same conglomerate. And Martha Stewart was part of the board of that company. I don't know before or after jail, but who cares? Anyway, so they are still in business. They have their offices, I think, down in Tennessee, and I'm trying to think of the name of the town. Memphis. I think they're down in the Memphis area. So if you have a problem with your machine, contact them. They'll probably have you ship their machine down there. I don't know of any place closer. And if you do, please, in the comments below or beside or wherever they have the comments on your site that you're watching me, let me know, because I get lots of calls from people that have computerized machines that I will not touch. The only computerized machine I touch is Brother, because I am a service center for Brother, and if I got a problem, I could call them and they will help me with the machine. Not personally, they don't help me. All right, so the Internet Archive has all kinds of things on there. You can look up news broadcasts from days. They have the whole day of 9/11 online, so you could watch the whole day if you want and see everything. I mean, there's nothing really edited off on Internet Archive. Or you can find old radio programs, series of old radio programs brought to you by the old-time radio groups and things, and books. And they are photocopied PDF files of books that you can download. Like I say, the 401A, which is the book I used to look at a lot as a kid, because Grandma, it had color pictures. The one online does not. It's black and white. But it had a picture of a mouse and a clown on the same page. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. Grandma never made a mouse or a clown, but there are pictures of it. It was called, not embroidery, and it wasn't called, well, it was, what do you call that? When you stitch around something, you use a satin stitch to hold the material together. So you made it look like a clown or a mouse. You can tell I'm not really into sewing as much as I should be, even though we had all kinds of things going on here in the past. All right, so back to the Internet Archive. Right now, I'm talking mostly about books, sewing machine manuals, things like that. Many of them are available there for free. And also books are on there for free. Music, old-time music, the old 78s and disc, the cylinders and things, they've got a lot of recordings of those on there. So if you're missing anything, like you want to hear Rudy Valley singing on the original record, you can go on Internet Archive and listen to it if you want. It's got the scratches and everything. It's just like being there. All right, I think I've got all of that done, and I've gone longer than a half hour today. Still no phone calls. Here's my phone. There's the number on the screen, 459-1888. Okay, I mean, you can call me on my cell phone if you have my number, but so far, just robots today. All right. One of the things I wanted to talk about, just for the closing up here, and you all can turn it off if you want, because, well, I still don't have a name for this show. I'm going to make as soon as I come up with a name for it, I will put an email to all my old subscribers to my newsletter and make up some little business cards to hand out to people so they can make their neighbors ill by having them watch this. But I don't have a name for it. Ralph's Corner of the World was in contention there for a little bit, but I don't know. It doesn't say Shenandoah SewandVac. It doesn't say fixing, cleaning, and repair. But it still might be one of those contenders. So if, Larry, you're watching this still from Washington State, thank you. If you're watching it from Idaho, I got some suggestions from my wife's aunt from out there. And I don't know where else people are watching from. But if you're watching, just say, hey, I watched for a few moments. All right. So I've been watching some of the news. I try to avoid watching a lot of it. But one of the things I find very sad is there are a lot of people that are out yelling and screaming that they're lonely, that they're afraid, that they don't know what's going on, which I don't know what's going on. But I do have something that helps me, and that is my Lord Jesus. Now, I was going to try to have a saying today, and so I had this lady over my house, and she calls me Mr. Sunshine. It does make me feel good. That's probably because she can't remember my name. But at 101, I don't blame her. I don't remember my name some days. But she calls me Mr. Sunshine. And I was reading in one of the books that I have, and in the book, it had a daily Bible verse type of thing. And it was called The Gospel of Sunshine. I said, wow, I am going to find out what today's is. Well, this lady that I saw on YouTube was out protesting something or another. Only one king, and that's Jesus. I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. But anyway, she was crying because she had no one to talk to. She says, I don't have any rights anymore. I don't have anything. And I'm thinking, yeah, you do. It's the Lord Jesus, if you want it, if you want him. And so the Bible verse I've got today is from Isaiah. I've read Ecclesiastes once before, but this is Isaiah 26:3, and it says, thou wilt keep him in, it could be her too, by the way. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, who's stayed on God. Okay, because you watch the news. I've been in homes doing house calls, and they had the news story. I don't care what version of person you are, whether you like conservative or liberal, doesn't matter. Whatever you got on TV, they repeat the same story over and over and over and over again. And they say the same thing. All of them say the same thing. I mean, maybe the opposites, but they're all saying the same thing over and over again. And you hear that stuff, and it just drives you bonkers. Don't believe it all. It's not all true. Matter of fact, they come back later. They say it's a conspiracy. Some people say it is. Some people say it's not. And come back later and find out it's true. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if it's not true. Don't listen to that stuff. It's crazy. So, okay. Now let me read this again. Thou wilt keep his mind in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee, in God. He trusts in God. My hope is not built on nothing less than the Washington Post and Fox News. Okay, it's just not. It is built on Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And once again, we're going to be dead a lot longer than we are alive. Think about it. It's important. Make the most of this day. Enjoy it. Call me up later, please. If I don't get much encouragement in the next 8 weeks, I might just call it, well, I tried. But I'm having a good time. Thank you all. See you next week, hopefully at 10 o'clock here on the Shenandoah SewandVac, one word, YouTube channel. All right. Bye. I hit the off button.